Welcome to another episode of the Relief Podcast. Today, my guest is Calvin Correli. Calvin, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Demetri. I'm excited to be here. I'm super pumped to be here. I'm bummed that I'm not in person with you, but I'm excited to be on your show.
Oh, we're going to have you back for round two. I mean, I don't think we can tell your story in just one episode.
All right. I'm up for it.
Yeah, we'll do part two in person. So, Calvin is the founder and CEO of Simplero, as well as speaker, author, investor, and spiritual business coach. He's been a coder since he was five. Five. That was 2 years after I learned to be potty trained.
I saw that on Twitter the other day. I saw this post about a lady saying, "Hey, you don't need like diapers and all that stuff. You can potty train kids from they're 10 days old." So that's because your parents didn't know better. My parents didn't know better either.
I guess I wasn't loved enough. Well, you know what I really appreciate about you, and you think in systems, right? And you look to simplify everything you touch. So, you know, how do you go about that? Like, how do you have a systemic mind, and then like the ability to organize in a time when people lack organization skills?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I don't know. How do you not? No, but seriously, like life will give you complication, right? Like everything just gets more complicated over time. Like we add stuff and add stuff and add stuff and add stuff and and I remember seeing a clip with Jordan Peterson at one point where he was talking about like complication is the thing that makes people kill themselves, literally commit suicide when they're just like, oh, so mired in it, and responsibilities and all the things you can't say, they can't see a way out of it. And so what we have to do is have the courage to let go of things, to be really clear. Like, this is the path. This is the thing. Like, instead of in business, I work with this type of client and this type of client and that type of client. No. Why do you try to work with 3 different types of clients? Because you're scared that there are not going to be enough of if you picked one. So you have to have the courage to pick one type of client that you know and love and trust that there's going to be enough of them. Oh, but and then I use Facebook ads, and then I also do SEO, and I do some podcasts. Like, no, pick one channel that you're going to go with and trust that you're going to figure it out and it's going to work. Right. So it's like in software too. I'm the product lead at Simplero, the product manager, the product visionary. And so I lead, and we don't have product management right now. So that's me while I'm being the CEO and doing all the other things. And so like I'm coaching the engineers to do some of that work. And there is that tendency like users like, well, I want a feature to do this. And like, oh, what if we could do this? And engineers will just like throw that stuff in there because a user says so. But you need to go back and figure out what is it they're actually trying to achieve and how can we do that in a super simple way that doesn't add to the complexity, and that's there when they need it and out of the way when they don't need it, or that's generalized, like that's at a high enough or low enough level that you can do a lot of things with a very simple thing. But it takes so much effort to make it simple. You just have to keep asking the question, how can we make this simpler? How can we make this simpler? How can we make this simpler? And I find it always comes out of fear or confusion. Like we're scared to make a decision. And so like, oh, I'll just add it. I'll just do both just because I'm right. So courage is really the main quality that's required to make things simple.
And I think that's key, a key essential character to have is to avoid the groupthink, because sometimes it's like comfort zone.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I think people are, I mean, we see that politically. I don't know if you want to go there, but there's tribal thinking, right? Like if you're someone, I grew up thinking that Fox News was the devil. I'm not a Fox News fan, but like Fox News was the devil. And if you dared watch it, that meant that like, you were Hitler, basically, if you even dared to watch any of it. That was kind of like that mindset. And then I think there's that tribe where if you think differently from that tribe, people in that tribe, rather than being like, hey, that's interesting. Oh, that's, yeah. What do you mean by that? Help me understand. They're going to say, oh, you're no longer one of us. And then they're going to reject you, right? There's that tribal thinking where, and we know that. We know, oh, crap. If I came home to my partner, my spouse, my team, my family, my friends, whatever, and I said, hey, I saw this thing on Fox News the other night. It was really, or like I read Jordan Peterson's book, or I heard this on Joe Rogan. They're gonna be like, what? Like, right? And now, like, you might not get invited back, and that's like that fear of being excluded is so deep in us because we grew up in the savannah. If we got kicked out, we would all die. But most people are tribal first. They don't think. They are, what does the tribe believe? I believe the same thing the tribe believes. And if he goes against the tribe, I'm going to stick with it, like with the tribe, and reject whatever that outside influence is. It's just how we are wired. And there's nothing right or wrong. It's just how we're wired. For me, I choose courage, um, consciously, because I believe that it's like Winston Churchill said, that courage is the most important virtue because it's the one that every other virtue depends on. And I believe that courage is contagious. So as you demonstrate courage, that gives other people permission, or it doesn't give them permission, but they use your example to give themselves permission to be courageous. And that's how we evolve as a society, is for people to be courageous. Galileo was very courageous when he came and said, hey, dude, guys, maybe this thing that we're on is like round and stuff and not flat. Like, it was massive, right? It took a lot of courage to say that. It's normal. It's how humans are wired.
I mean, what is it like? The world belongs to those who are like the revolutionaries.
There was, sorry, say that again.
So, like, the world belongs to those who are ready for revolution, ready to shake the norms of convention.
That's a great question, though, right? Like, does the world belong to them? Like, they're the ones that move the society forward, but they might get killed in the process or kicked out or ridiculed, right? So, like, I don't know. Who does the world belong to? I'm very fascinated with the medical field as well, and like the health space, because like there's in general in science, there's so much conventional thinking. There's a book called the Beginning of Infinity, which makes the really compelling point that any scientific theory that we have currently is guaranteed to be wrong. We just don't know which way it's wrong in yet. Just like Newton was the best theory we had, and then came Einstein, and Einstein was the best theory we have, and now there's string theory and like whatever. Like, but chances are in 500 years we're gonna know so much more, and just living with that attitude of we're always learning and evolving, and we don't know yet. Like, we know a little, but a lot of what we think we know is actually wrong, and just recognizing that that's always going to be true, and that's great. It's great news. It means there's room to learn and grow.
No, it is. And I think if we never evolved, we wouldn't be talking on a platform like this.
Oh, exactly, right. Like, where did that come from? Yeah.
And you know, bridging gaps that, you know, otherwise would just be
Mm-hmm.
how things are.
Yeah.
Right? Just, when I hear, well, that's how things always have been, I'm like, no one's thought to question that.
Yeah. Like, that's awesome. That has always been like, great. What else can we do? Let's try something else. And people are wired differently. Some people love that. Some people hate it. I love it. I love it for sure. And I get the feeling you do too. Hey, can I ask you a question, Demetri?
Please do.
So I was checking out like the website and the relief. What is it called? The relief factor. I was going to say, what is it called? Anyway, the what is it? So you're helping someone is distressed and they can't pay their mortgage, and then instead of going to some cash buyer that will pay like under market price and a bad deal and stuff, what do you do instead?
So first we were more compassionate. We listen to people where they are. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, like just today, a call came in, and it's a guy who, he's co-parenting with his kid, and he has this house, but he'd rather be on the road as a trucker.
Mm.
And I said, well, the sooner you sell this, you don't have to worry about it anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but this conversation went a half hour, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most people are, hey, if I don't make immediate money in the next 3 seconds, I'm not interested.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in a relationship business, not a transaction business,
Mm-hmm.
um, because it stands. There's core values behind real estate relief, right? It's an acronym. Where we go from restoring communities all the way to finding deals for real estate investors. That's what we stand
Mm-hmm.
for. So if I help this guy and meet him where he is and share relatable stories like loss and divorce, right? What he's going through is not unique, right? Maybe it's
Right.
different, but it's not unique. And so
Yeah.
the difference is being compassionate,
Got it.
offering a little bit more than nothing, which is what most people do. When someone's in a desperate, sad situation, their mind's not clear.
Mm-hmm.
They're not always able to make the best decision. And sometimes when you're in a place of lack, you make the worst decision.
Got it. Yeah. So you still end up buying people's houses, or you find a buyer for it?
It varies. Sometimes we buy the property if it fits our model and it makes sense and it's not too far out of the region we serve.
Mm-hmm.
If we would feel like it's more efficient that somebody else pick this up and take it to the finish line, that's okay too. So then we can just focus on building nurturing those relationships, building those marketing channels, and connecting with people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I typically don't do enough of talking about what we do.
Yeah. I was
That's
curious.
true. Like that,
Yeah.
tooting your own horn it feels sometimes like it's a bit of the ego, but it does
Yeah.
help. When people like you and trust you, they want to find a way to work with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I was listening to some of your podcasts and I was like, what is he actually doing? I'm curious, and maybe some of your listeners are curious
oh,
too. So I
I
figured
think,
I'd ask.
yeah, I've been told like in real estate, you can't be a secret agent.
Yeah.
You
No,
got to be
no,
out there. You
don't
can't
do
be
that.
like this person of mystery who mysteriously does deals, but no one ever hears about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The secret, yeah, best kept secret weapon like thing. Yeah. Great. Let's not have it be a secret anymore.
No,
But yeah.
no. But it's all about entrepreneurship, and I think like standing on your own,
Mm-hmm.
not being a part of some other team where you don't know what the values are. Well, if I'm the
Mm-hmm.
leader, I have to follow those values, right?
Yeah.
And then anyone who comes on board, this is my expectation, this is our code, and this is why it's cool. Like not just here's our culture, you must adhere, but here's why it's great.
Mm-hmm.
And if you resonate with this, please join our team. We respect each other. We're good to each other, but we're going to demand some excellence. So please bring it. And you're an entrepreneur. I mean, like, what do you see? Like, as you're like, speak if you can your journey to entrepreneurship. Because we've talked earlier that we're kind of out of the box people, creative
Mm-hmm.
people who welcome diversity and diversity of opinion. Right, that's the
Yeah.
key. I think that should be a new protected class is that you have a different opinion, that you're still welcome here. But
Yeah,
I'll hear
exactly.
you. I'm okay with differences. It's how we find our bridges. Talk about how you became an entrepreneur, and then how you evolved from going from entrepreneurship to coaching people and advising them on their growth.
Yeah. So I got into entrepreneurship very young. Like you mentioned in the opening, I started coding when I was 5. My both my parents, and I'm almost 50 now. So this was in the early 70s. My parents got into programming in the late 60s, early 70s. This was very early. They were programming massive computers that took up the space of an entire room or entire house using punch cards. So little paper cards, cardboard that you would punch holes in, and that's the keyboard, right? That's how you input, and then it would spew something out, and then that's how they could program. Later on, it became a little bit more advanced, and my both of them were programming, so they taught me. Mostly my dad was the one that taught me coding at night. They would buy computers and teach me. My mom started a software company in 1980 and grew that to 50 people and market leading in Denmark. So I got that bug early on, and I made good money like 5th grade, 6th grade, writing software for some of my parents' friends that had like one of them had a patent agency, and he needed some software for some stuff. So I wrote him some software and made some good money on that. And it was super fun. I loved it. So for me, I always knew that was in my bones. That was in my blood. I couldn't not be an entrepreneur. I think I'd be utterly, well, I was employed for a short while. I had a job for like, I don't know, like 2 years or something in Boston well, I didn't live in Boston, but the company was in Boston. And aside from that, the only companies I've ever worked for that weren't my own were my parents. So I worked for both my mom's company and my dad's company at different times. And the coaching came because of personal struggle. So I had this thing in my head that I need to be a multi-billionaire by 30, or I do not have the right to exist. If I'm not a multi-billionaire like Steve Jobs or Bill Gates by the age of 30, I need to go kill myself because I am taking up physical space on this planet that belongs to other people. I'm breathing air that belongs to other people. That was my programming. That was my level of self-worth. It was like $10 billion below zero was my self-worth. So like crawling my way up. And I turned 30 and I still wasn't a billionaire. I turned 31, I still wasn't a billionaire. I turned 32 and I still wasn't a billionaire. I turned 33 and I could not pretend anymore that it was right around the corner because it wasn't. And that's when I cracked. And I was terrified. That was part of my program too. I was terrified of anything self-help, therapy, coaching kind of stuff. Because I had a programming, a conditioning that said, if you need that kind of help, it means that you weren't able to make it. If you need help, it means you're broken. So whatever you achieve doesn't count because you have to do it. You have to be someone, you have to be that kind of person that just like becomes a billionaire on your own with no help. I don't know where the hell that idea came into my head from, but it was there. And like, if you look at Steve Jobs, he had a coach, right? Bill Campbell, famously. So it wasn't based in reality, but that was in my head. And so when I turned 33, I was like, okay, it was like basically like, okay, I give up. I failed. I tried. I wasn't capable. I wasn't good enough. So now like, get me the fucking help. And I was in so much pain. So I found a therapist and a coach, and then I loved it. I loved that coaching and that self-awareness that came from it, and I discovered body therapy too, which was amazing. It's like you go work through the body to release and process emotions and open yourself up. It was like, oh, this is incredible. I don't know about you, but I have a left brain that can sometimes play games with me. Like sometimes I tell myself stories that are not true. Sometimes I trick myself in ways. Like I don't know if you have that experience, but I definitely do that. And then when you work through the body, you can't do that. The body doesn't play games. It just reveals. And so that was like, I was so shut down. I couldn't feel anything. I didn't have a relationship with my feelings. So I didn't know what I wanted. And so the body therapy was the thing that cracked me open to all of a sudden just old shit just pouring out. And it was incredible. And that's when I was like, oh, this is amazing. And then a friend of mine was like, well, it was actually my coach. She was like, well, you should take a coach education. You should be a coach. I'm like, wait, me? What are you talking about? I'm not a people person. I don't know. Like, I can't do that. I'm like computers and I can program the thing, but people, oh no, they're scary. That's dangerous. But she was like, no, I think you really could. And so I took that coach education. It was so mind blowing for me. I was like, whoa, shit, maybe I can. Maybe there's something here. This is amazing. I loved it. And so I just never stopped. I never stopped. And I never stopped growing and evolving and using coaches. I have 6 coaches now. And then I started getting into coaching myself, and I realized, oh my God, this is what I'm made for.
Wow. I mean, you're best equipped to help the person you used to be.
100%, right? Yeah, 100%.
There's a
That's
lot
it,
of
right?
former versions of us out there.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. A saying that I heard that I love is become the person you needed the most in your darkest days and share that person with the world. Like that's the gift. Yeah.
Yeah, that to take that moment in the darkest corner. Because I
Yeah.
think, and I want to rewind to earlier when you mentioned, I think it's a thing that a lot of men go through is not having that permission to feel
Hmm.
your emotions, to have a bad day, to not feel your
Hmm.
best, and not feeling safe to share that,
Yeah.
so that
Yeah.
we count on our closest circle, our closest therapists, advisors, coaches. Maybe those are the people who are best equipped to handle these conversations.
Yeah.
Because the people that we see on a daily basis, even if they love us a lot, they don't know maybe how to handle it all.
Right. Yeah. And I don't know if that's your experience too, but this feeling that sometimes when you share your feelings, you just want to be heard or you just want to be met in it. But then people are like, oh no, it's fine. It's not so bad. I'm like, don't be sad and stuff like, no, that's not what I needed. Right. And so people get uncomfortable when you have feelings because they're uncomfortable with their own feelings. And so they're like, it ends up being like, all right, maybe not share that. Cause like it never kind of ends, it never lands well. Right. Have you had that?
Oh yeah, I mean, that there's certain, like, you can take your conversations only so far. Now again,
Hmm.
there's people we meet in our circles that are surface level, and then there's people who are deep, and then
Yeah.
there's people who are like Mariana's trench deep. What I mean? Like, you could just pour out, you could listen, you can have your moment, and you'd be like, you know what? I feel better for that. Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
Right? Just being that place, and we look at, let's say, the Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius. He didn't have anyone he could trust,
Yeah. Yeah.
so he kept a journal to himself.
Yeah.
And the one task that he asked was, please get rid of these journals. They didn't listen.
Yeah.
We all benefited from that.
Yeah. And I think like it's one of the gifts that we can bring as humans and as coach as well. Like because I have been into so many of the darkest corners of my own being, I can be there with someone else when they're going through it. I'm not gonna and not panic, right? I can stay fully present. I don't be like, oh, poor you. Oh, that's so terrible. And I don't go like, all right, this is weird. Like I can just be there and stay with people and be present and compassionate with it. And then so they can, I can't process your feelings. You're the only one that can process your feelings. But that's the gift that you gain when you do that yourself. We can only hold space for other people having feelings that we can hold space for ourselves feeling. Right. So yeah,
That
and
way,
it's a beautiful process.
you want to be more harmonious. You know what I mean? Like, I think you're a musician among many other talents.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. So I mean, a band has to be in sync. You can't just play
Yeah.
whatever you feel like.
Yeah. Totally.
It wouldn't go that long. You can have a solo, but let it not be the whole song.
Well, and still during the solo, you're still in tune with the band, right?
Oh yeah, no, you got room to have your own expression, but
Hmm.
it's a part of a greater moment in that
Yeah,
music. So
exactly.
if we may transition, like, you see a lot of mistakes out there that people are making, right? Because you've made them yourself, right?
Hmm.
What are some of the more common mistakes that you see entrepreneurs making, or even coaches making in the work they do?
The biggest one is making it too complicated. I mean, it's why I named my company Simplero, right? Where it's all about making it simpler, which again is hard. And simple is my medicine too. Like I have a tendency also to make things too complicated. So I have to always remind myself and prune and be like, okay, this is what we want. Or this is the simpler way to do it. And so I think that's the biggest one. The other one is lack of belief, lack of belief in themselves. I'm really big on being super clear on what you want to create, in the world, what you want to contribute, but also what you want to create for yourself. I think you should be extremely selfish in what you want to have in your life. If it's houses or jets or families or, fancy cars or whatever you want to have, like own that. Like own that desire for yourself and just be very clear on what exactly you want. And then see it and believe it. Believe in it. I think the biggest thing is like you have a piece of God in you, right? The God spark, that life force, beautiful, magnificent gift. And we run around, you're like, oh no, but like, I don't know, and can I, and do I, and like, I'm nothing, and like, oh, don't mind me, and playing small in all these different ways and doubting ourselves, doubting our gift. And all that does is it robs other people who need you of that piece that you have. You have a piece of the puzzle for other people that nobody else has. And if you're not sharing that with people because you're consumed by your own self doubt, they're just not going to have that piece. Too bad. And you're not going to have the joy of sharing that. There's no greater joy in life than being able to share that gift that you have and the intimacy and the contribution and the growth to yourself and to the other person that comes from that. That's for me, that's what keeps me fired up. And it wasn't until recently I had a session with someone, Tony Robbins, this energy guy. I had a private session with him. He's a super cool dude. And he was helped me see that I had this tendency, like when I was like, okay, now I need to work on the business, then I'd go like, I need to work on the business and like we need to do marketing stuff. And it was like, and it was like, he was like, well, when you go there, there's no energy. There's no energy there. So no wonder it's not really clicking. You're not really getting traction there because you're going to a place that's low energy or energy neutral, no energy. For me, intimacy, that's where there's energy. And intimacy is where there's energy. And now if I think of business as the structure and the system that allows me to do intimacy in a much deeper way and at scale, and the marketing is just me doing intimacy at scale, boom, now there's energy. Now it's fucking fun.
It's more primal. I think it connects all our needs together.
Yeah.
Because we're so used to task, and then you say, well, what aligns with my true purpose, right? What are you best at putting together, as opposed to I can do it.
100%. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And where's the energy? Like really that like he taught me about external, internal. So certain people get energy from the future, from like, oh, this is what I'm going to do. And like, oh yeah. Other people get energy from the past. Like, yes, I've done this. Like I feel like, but when they look to the future, they get worried. Me, when I look to the past, I get a little like sad typically. Like, so don't do that. Go to the future, go where the energy is. And the energy is not just, it's a real physical thing. It's not just energy, it's an information flow. So you're receiving information, and that's the energy that you need to do anything that you want in life. And at a quantum level, this is literally what's happening. And so that fascinated me. There's a story of I heard or watched a video of Edgar Mitchell, who was one of the first people to walk on the moon, one of the astronauts. And when he came back to Earth, on the way back to Earth, he had this like spiritual awakening moment when he's seeing the moon and the Earth and from outside, and he was just like, oh. And he did some really cool experiments in telecommunication. What do you call that?
Telepathy.
Telepathy. That's the thing. Yeah. Out there as well. There's a great book by Lynn McTaggart called The Field that talks about some of the stuff, which is amazing. But I saw a talk where he talked about, when you go into an old cathedral, into Europe, you go into one of those like 1,000-year-old cathedrals that are massive, right? You go in there, you stand in that space. What do you feel? Have you been there? Have you done that?
I was there. I'm thinking right, like in my mind, there's like articulating. Like there's a holy monastery that's from the 11th century in the island of Chios, where Homer wrote the Iliad and Odyssey. And I was there, where people got massacred trying to seek refuge, where people found their spiritual center, and we're still an active church.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We're still people have to go up a mountain. It's like a
Mm.
pilgrimage, right? It's an
Yeah.
effort to climb up
Yeah.
that hill, up that mountain, and most people don't want to do it, let alone visitors from another country.
Where is
But
this church?
this is on the island of Chios, on the
Oh,
eastern Aegean Sea of Greece. It's
yeah, beautiful.
a small boat ride to the ancient Bible city of Smyrna, and there was there were three monks, and they went up to somebody who was in a noble family back then, and they told him, "You're going to be the emperor. We see it in you. We see your
Mm,
greatness."
mm,
And he says, "Wow, you see that in me? Yes, yeah, we see that in you. Well, if that happens, we're going to build. I'm going to build you this monastery as thanks for believing in me. And how will we know that you're going to honor your promise?" He handed over his ring and said, "Okay, in case I forget, come to me with that ring, and I'll honor the promise." And they made it happen. Um, and so you have this old place that's filled with mosaics, and even if they've etched out the Lord's face, or these holy figures' faces, it's still there. You still know what's in there, the essence of the place, the holiness. Again,
mhm,
whatever you believe in it with all your self.
mhm.
In that, when you connect with that space, it's profound, and I'm brought to tears. And it's something I don't typically talk about, because everyone's spiritual journey is their own. But
Mhm.
when you feel like that you're in a special place,
Yeah.
that you know what I mean, and you're honored to be there.
Mhm.
Like, wow, this isn't common.
Yeah. Yeah.
This took effort to get here. And that's why I would admire people who go on pilgrim wherever the pilgrimage is, up the mountains, across the sea, finding that place that where you find your purpose,
Yeah.
you find what you're made for. And so tell me, what kind of places have moved you, like, because you've traveled quite a bit.
Well, yeah. So this is the point, right? So in that, when you go into that old cathedral, that old church, you feel something. You can't not feel something. You feel a sense of awe. You like maybe you get really emotional, start like crying. What you're feeling is information. There's literally information stored in the walls of that cathedral from thousands of years of stuff that's happened inside that space. And so you step in, and it's the information that's coming at you that you're picking up and that you're feeling. We're constantly in an information stream. The quantum field is information.
Wow.
And that's the point.
Wow, I just felt more. I feel more profound. I think because you said that there's energetic fields everywhere, right?
Mhm.
And we think about it in a living sense. That if
Mhm.
someone is, a dog, a cat, a person, they have feelings. No, but
Mhm.
this building has feelings because it's
Mhm.
lived many lifetimes.
Everything is alive. Everything in the universe is alive. Yeah.
And that evolvement is spirituality. I can imagine has like, how's that affected not just your life, but also like your relationships and the way you work.
I mean, it's everything. It's everything. I think the fascinating thing for me is like my journey has been, as a kid, I was very tuned in, and then teenager, I abandoned everything that was remotely spiritual. I was like, can't trust that. It's kind of like I was scared of my dad, and he would spank me, and he would have these like fits of anger and rage. My mom was this, he was a business person, and like money and like all things like right. My mom was a soft, nurturing, spiritual person, and I felt like whenever my dad would get angry, she would get scared and not protect me. And so unconsciously, that became, I can't trust that. I can't trust the spiritual. It's not going to keep me safe. I got to go this way, like my dad, and be like, and so that's what I did until like I think um, yeah, mid 30s or something, when I just couldn't anymore, and I started to open up. But it took me a while to go from therapy to the spiritual. It took me several years to open up to that. I remember a dinner conversation with my mom where I was talking about the coaching and the mindset and the beliefs. And I was like, oh my God. And there was like these beliefs in here. And when I can change the belief and become aware, I was like, amazing. And she was like, what about the spiritual? And I was like, no, I don't like. So it took me a while to open up to that. And then there's levels to that. And it took me a while. Like I had a hand analysis at one point that said that one of the things about me is like a power struggle with the divine, kind of like a power struggle with God, like who's really in charge here. And so it took me a while to get around to actually just like, all right, I surrender completely to a higher power and to God. Like it took me a while to use the word God. And when that happened, that was a major shift in every relationship, in my business, in my marketing, in everything. Cause like it's that thing, like it's not about me. And that was linked to also the moment that I finally let go of a really, 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 really old generational wound of feeling wrong, feeling fundamentally flawed. I felt so wrong my entire life. I would hear everything, even like someone being super loving and caring and generous, as implied criticism. It was my biggest fear, was that someone was going to come up and say, you don't know shit. You have no idea what you're talking about. You're wrong. I would constantly be looking over my shoulder. It was like whenever I said anything, there'd be like 8 voices saying like, maybe there's someone out there who doesn't agree or thinks I'm wrong, or like there's something I don't know. Like, and it was kind of like that like letting go of that old wound of feeling wrong and surrender to a higher power of it's not about me. And what's fascinating is that all of these little insecurities of, well, I'm not good enough, and like maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, and are people going to judge me or criticize me, or all of that stuff is all about me, right? It's all me being fucking egocentric. It's my ego. And I'm not saying that in the most loving way, like, but it's our ego fighting for its right to live, for its survival, for its mission. Like the ego thrives on finding fault, finding flaws, finding improvement projects. And so when that's controlling, then all relationships are about me. I'm over here being self-obsessed. Like maybe I'm wrong. What's he thinking about me? What if he says something else? Like I can't really be in a deep, intimate relationship because I'm all about me. So that shift, boom, changes everything.
Right, and I appreciate sharing that, because I think as we go through this self-awareness journey, we start shedding layers that don't serve us. Jackets, sweaters, people,
Yeah.
and the opinion of others doesn't matter. Now, if it's people we respect and they frame what they're telling us in a constructive, kind, compassionate way, it's for our improvement.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, you're a very strong advocate of good fitness and vitality, right? And um, I still have some of those shakes that I bought like a
Nice.
couple of years ago. And if we talk about fitness, because I can imagine, just like in computers, good inputs lead to great outputs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the physical vitality part is crucial, and it works circular too. So for me, it was late 2017, right? So that's what coming up on. It's like six years and change ago. That's when I began my health journey, really, and working out improves my energy and improves my changes my palate. So now I eat better. So then I quit alcohol because I actually started feeling good and not needing alcohol to feel like not bad. Um, and then that affects my mind, and that affects my overall, like, the vibration, if you will, and that affects my health back in return. And so it becomes really a positive, virtuous cycle. I really think that most, like all, no, not most, all health issues are energetic issues, right? And our energy is determined in part by how we use our body, how we breathe and how we move and where we hold tension. And a lot, like, all tension in the body comes down to, there's an emotional component to it. There's a spiritual component. And so it's just around, like, peeling off these layers. And again, working through the body to do that is amazing. And it becomes this, I mean, body and mind are not separate, right? It's the body mind. So it becomes this vicious or virtuous cycle of where we're just always making it better. Because I'm 49. I don't do any alcohol, any drugs, any nothing whatsoever. I don't do any, meds, prescription or otherwise. I don't do any of that. So I don't have any pain anywhere. Like, it's just like, that's possible. I saw a stat that said, like, 2/3 of Americans are on some kind of prescription meds, which is bonkers. It's insane, right? Like, I think most 50-year-olds in this country are on drugs of some sort. It's just become a natural, normal, not a natural, but a normal part of society. And it's not natural at all. Like, we don't need drugs to feel amazing. We need to just, like, peel, because the drugs are, like, if you remain in that, like, negative, low energy mind state, and you don't really, like, sluggish body, and you fill it with toxins and bad diet, and you don't really move well or breathe well, like, then you feel like shit. And then you take drugs that make you feel a little better, alleviate some symptoms, but all your entire energy system is still the same. And when you change the energy and the mindset and all that stuff, your body can actually heal. And remove the toxins and clean the diet and start moving and breathing, etc. The body can heal itself. The body is the only thing that can heal itself. But the drugs are not going to do any of it. They're just going to mask the issue. They're going to mask the problem. So yeah, and I can't share in detail, but something that's been going on with someone close to me that have been trying to treat it with all kinds of things, and then all of a sudden it just resolved itself from mindset stuff, from belief stuff. My mom had a friend, he's passed now, but he was a surgeon, and he was doing mastectomies. He was cutting breasts off of women with breast cancer. And he noticed that all of these women had the same mental patterns. And so he said, let me stop doing that and instead become a psychotherapist so I can help them solve this problem before it becomes breast cancer. And he was actually the guy that I reached out to when I was looking for a therapist, because I trusted him, and I was so embarrassed, but I trusted him to give me a recommendation. So he did. And yeah, but it's like the psychology comes first, and then comes the disease.
Oh, but I applaud you for having that courage, right? I mean, you mentioned earlier about the strength of the power of courage, taking that courage and being trembling or kind of afraid of what someone might think of you. But if they're a true clinician, they care about the patient and what they're suffering with.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're really good, they're going to care about the root cause and not just the symptoms, and trying to paint over it when it needs an overhaul.
Yeah.
That's how you build a better person. And so that, that way we're not broken or buggy, or have things that need to be, updated all the time. But when you need a new you, right? And I think there's a power in loving yourself too, right?
Oh, 1,000%. Oh yeah, so much. And I love what you said about, like, it's not buggy. Like, we tend to go around hating on our bodies. Like, oh, why are you so fat? Why are you so sloppy? Why do you have pain there? Why is, like, we shit on our bodies all day long. the reality is our bodies are working so hard for us. Your body's doing its best. It's the best it possibly can to cope with all the shit that you throw at it, like with food, bad food, and Netflix, and not getting enough sleep, and not getting enough water or exercise or breathing or toxins, or like, and plus all the negative self-talk. All of that shit goes into your body, and your body's just like, all right, I'm just gonna take it all, and I'm gonna try to process here in the liver and the kidneys and the gallbladder and whatever, and like eliminate all this garbage that you throw at me, and not fucking complain. And then if eventually it'll start to ache and be in pain and break down, but it's working so fucking hard to work with what you're giving it. So love on your fucking body and start giving it some more love and care, and pay attention to what you're throwing at it.
I mean that's priceless advice. I mean, think about it. Like, we can change our vehicles, we can change our computers, we can improve us.
Yeah. Dude, and the body is amazing at healing. Incredible at healing. Have you read Dying to Be Me, Anita Morjani?
No, but I'll add it to the list.
Yeah, she's I think it was like 10, 15 years ago that story came out, but she had cancer. She was like practically dead in the hospital. She has this out of body experience, sees everything that's happening around her, plus her brother on an airplane from India to come over, and all of the things. She hears all the conversations. She comes and she's like I forget the details, but like she hears a voice like, "You're not done yet. Like, you're gonna go back." And she goes back and she's healed in 2 days, and just goes on to live life and share the story. And it really comes down to that, like the fear and anxiety, which is why stress is such a killer. Stress comes from fear, and it's the biggest killer in the world, maybe second to medical malpractice, which is the third leading cause of death in this country, which is insane. Doctors are the third leading cause of death. But no, like stress and fear, like it's basically, the way I think of it is like there's that life force energy, which is our creative energy, which is our sexual energy. That's the core of our aliveness. And then like we just throw garbage at it with limiting beliefs and old stuck emotion or traumas and wounds and like physical sluggishness and bad diet and toxins and all that garbage we throw at it. And then it's like, it just becomes this tiny like flickering flame. Like, I'm just trying to like get out of here. You're suffocating me, right? And so as we peel that off, then it can really start to flow again. And then health comes natural. Health is the natural state when we don't, douse the flame with garbage all the time. And she's a great example of that. And it can move really fast, because even despite all the toxins, the bad diet, and all that stuff, like the body can, it's all energy, right? So it can transmute or transform super quickly.
No, that's wonderful. Now, I mean, we live in a time of massive distraction, right?
Mm-hmm.
People are worried about their notifications, their texts. But it might even be important. It might even be urgent. It may even be critical.
Yeah.
Now,
What was it? There was one president who was famous for saying that most problems, if you just leave them in the drawer for a week, will solve themselves.
that makes sense. We'd have to have the courage to leave our phone in the drawer for a week.
Yeah.
And test out that theory.
Urgent, hair on fire. Yeah, fine. We'll leave it. Like, come back next week. Yeah, no, we're fine. All right, cool.
Well, I mean, and I think the greater thing is, if it's not going to be a problem in 5 years, then don't give it more than 5 minutes of concern.
Yeah, I like that.
Minutes and moments, right? So, like, how would you go about or recommend to others who are dealing with a lot of interference, how to clear it?
Of fears?
No. Well, not just fears, but like
interference.
Interference, like, let's say, I want to be better, I want to perform better, but I'm dealing with this, or this is my concern, and again, whether it be real or an illusion, like it cannot be the limiter that prevents you from growing.
Yeah, I'm gonna be the guy that keeps harping on the same thing, which is make it freaking simple. Make it simple. Make it simpler. Simplero. No, but seriously, I mean, it's why I named my company Simplero, right? It's the thing. It's the universal medicine. So, like, what do you want? What's your goal? If you don't know what the fuck you want, how are you gonna get there? I was doing a team training today, and I was teaching people on my team, everybody on my team, about Napoleon Hill's definite chief aim. What do you want in life? What are you willing to give to get there, to get it? When do you want it by? Like, have that defined, know it, write it down. Look at it 3 times a day. First thing in the morning when you get up, last thing at night before you get to go to bed, so your subconscious mind can work on it during the night. Visualize it. Set an alarm for, I have mine set for 1 p.m., so I'll go review it in the middle of the day. That's number one. You have to know where the fuck you're going. And then what are the things that you need to do to get there? You map out the steps and focus on it. It's so easy to get this. Oh, well, I need this. I need to meditate and visualize, and I need to exercise, and I need to do cold plunges, and I need to do infrared saunas, and I need to do, like, yeah, pick whatever you can fit into your day. How much time do you have that you can dedicate to it? What are you going to give during work? Make sure that you're super clear. And if Frisella has this thing of like, what are the 3 things that you're going to do today to win this day? And every day you pick 3 things that are going to move you closer towards your definite chief aim, and you make sure you do them, and you don't go to bed until you've done those 3 things. Like, you just keep stacking up the wins, you're going to freaking win. But you got to make it super simple. You cannot overwhelm yourself. I love Tony Robbins too, with his RPM planning method: results, purpose, meaning why emotionally do you want this, M, massive action plan. We tend to have all of the to-dos, but we don't remember why. We don't remember why we want to do this thing and what is the outcome that we're actually after. And so we end up to-doing all day long and not achieving the results. We want to figure out only do what's necessary to get the fucking result, and then move on to the next thing.
No, that's lovely. I mean, begin with the end in mind, right? Like, what are we looking to achieve here, rather than here's what we do. Like, it may not matter what you do because it may not be relevant to my needs.
I have wasted and I don't believe in waste, but I'm just going to go with that anyway. I've spent so much time doing things that did not matter. I've worked hard my entire life, and most of it did not do a damn thing for nobody.
So it's like running in the wrong direction.
Yeah, or just like doing little, like, the classic, phrase of rearranging the decks on the Titanic. Maybe not like that's the sinking ship, but just like doing silly little things that don't actually matter, right? But it's a dopamine hit. I realized not too long ago, like a few months ago, you know what? Holy crap! I have this pattern of, like, my laptop, because I got into computers super young. Remember? And it was my survival, because people were scared. I got bullied in school. I didn't really have any friends. So computers were my friends. Then I discovered porn. And then, like, you get like all the fucking brain chemicals from the fucking computer, right? Like, it's insane. So at a young age, my brain got wired with computer means dopamine. And so I realized, oh God, I'm still playing a pattern where, like, I will be like, oh, blah, blah, I'm just going to go to a coffee shop and work on the computer on stuff. Not that I have anything important to do. It's not like there's anything I particularly needed to accomplish. It was just like, all right, I'm here. Let me grab my laptop, go to the coffee shop, and I'd like have a hot beverage. And that was like dopamine hit. And then I realized I'm just fucking like doing mental masturbation here. I'm like, I'm not actually accomplishing anything. I'm not like, what am I trying to do here? I'm just sitting here twiddling my thumb, like, kind of like by doing shit that don't need to be done. So that was pretty good to notice. And I think that happens for a lot of us, is that the dopamine hit, right? Like, we get addicted. This is why people get addicted to social media and or to porn or to whatever it is. Like the dopamine hit is fucking dopamine addiction is real.
No, they're vices, and I spent time in Greece, right? And so you make this coffee, right? This big coffee that you cook it on the stovetop, and then you socialize. And
Mm-hmm.
people aren't on their phone, even if they have phones, even if they ding and ring and all that stuff, unless they have something they're expecting, and then they tell you ahead of time. But for the
Mm-hmm.
most time, you're just sitting there. You're having conversation. You're noting people's facial movements, their smiles, how their eyes move, how their nose twinkles, or how their hair looks today, right? And now you're building your friendships, and now you're building relationships. These are dynamics that so far defy AI. How
Yeah.
to tell when someone's enjoying themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
You know, we because we run to productivity, and productivity matters. KPIs matter. When you invest in people, that costs resources. When you train them, you got to train people who fit your culture, fit your values, or else they don't fit your system, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of I find it cute that you come from the land of Legos,
Yes. I
and
do.
you're an expert at making things simple, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not Lego complicated, but literally Duplo,
Yeah.
without duplication of effort. So, like, what do clients come to you to solve? Give me an example.
Yeah. Um, on the coaching side, well, on the software side, Simplero as a software, we solve the problem of having 9 different tools to run your business, right? Like, oh, I need a website, and I need email marketing, and I need like a membership site, and I need video hosting, and it's like and a community, and like it just ends up being this like chaotic, complicated mess. That's what we solve. Replace all of that, have one platform where you can run everything, one place to go to for outrageously good support. Like find your home on the internet where you belong, where you can start and where you can grow. We have people making multiple 8 figures. We have people that are just starting out, and it's a great platform for all of them. So that's what people come to Simplero for. For on the coaching side, every single business problem, and you know this, Demetri, every single business problem is a personal problem that shows up in business. It's a spiritual problem that shows up in business. The yes, we need to do things, we need to do action steps, but the reason why we're confused about it or not doing it or sitting on our hands and not finding solutions is because of personal problems, is because of spiritual problems. To me, there's like the personal growth, and then the spiritual growth is when we realize that the personal growth, meaning just pure mindset kind of stuff, can only take us so far. So any personal growth journey ends in a spiritual growth journey. I resisted this fact for a long time, but I was like, oh yeah, that's how that works. And so we look at the other part is what we talked about is we complicate shit. And the reason we complicate shit is that we're scared, and there's some inner conflict that we don't want to resolve, that we're scared about resolving. So it's still fear, but it's like, I want this and I want that. And I'm like, I want this, but I'm scared of that. So it all comes down to the same thing. So what I do is I make the business how, or the business what, super simple. And then I support people in what is that inner growth that needs to happen in order for them to get to where they want to go to. For me, goals are all about stretching ourselves. Who do I become in the process? It's not about the attainment of the goal, though we want that too, but we want to come from a place where we love everything as it is. We're in total love with and awe of everything that exists. We're grateful for who we are and what we have, and we're creating because we're passionate. We're about sharing. Like we have our creative urge. We want to express ourselves creatively. That's why we create stuff. And whatever is coming in the way of that, whatever's blocking that, wherever the confusion is, the fear, the old wound, the mental block, the lack of surrender or letting go, or giving into a higher power, that's what we work on, because that's where the real meat happens. And then everything kind of unlocks from there.
Wow. So you're basically saying in your trainings, people have full permission to be themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And be vulnerable. And yeah. And I show up vulnerably. A lot of it is just because people don't know what they need. They don't know because it's a mental block, right? We've only ever been where we've been, but because I've been in so many places along this journey, I can feel where people are at when they don't know it themselves. And I share something from my life that then's like, yes, that's exactly what I needed to hear. That's exactly what's going on. I just didn't know how to express it. So that happens a lot.
So it's like you're basically clearing the path,
100%. 100%. Yeah.
and then people are able to embark on their journeys with more confidence, clarity, and
Yeah.
commitment to getting it done.
And I think that's the journey for all of us. We heal ourselves and then we heal others through our stories and our examples, right? And we we figure shit out, we clear our own hurdles, and then we can help other people clear those hurdles.
Oh,
And so
that's
it really
wonderful.
comes down to how much shit have you dealt with? Like that's a good a barometer.
Oh yeah, I mean, you know what it is? It's like, well, you shit in the garden, right? It becomes fertilizer. It grows our crops, right? And it's
I
like
keep trying to tell my wife that. No, just kidding.
some people can handle shit more than others, and
Right.
others just want the results and not what the inputs that it took to get that result.
Yeah, right.
Um,
Honey, why won't you let me shit in the hallway? It'll be fertilizer.
no, that doesn't work that way. But you know, oh, I went to ask you. So you're a fan of Jesse Isler, right? You put up the big calendars, and
Yeah.
you talked about big goals. So what would, if you don't mind sharing, what's a mashogi of yours for this year, like a big goal that you'd like to achieve
For this year?
this year or going forward?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing for me is like longer term, a movement of I'm going to talk about two stages. So, first stage is a movement of millions of entrepreneurs all over the world, supporting them in you know doing consistent, simple inner work and outer work in order to bring their genius to the world. So, creating a movement of entrepreneurs that are consciously doing both the inner and the outer work together, keeping it simple and consistent, so they can share the genius with the world. And I mean, that fires me up so much because for me, entrepreneurs are the people who make the world better. It's not the government. Right? The government makes the world worse consistently. NGOs, no. It's entrepreneurs. The only reason we get to exist as a business is because we solve a problem and deliver an outcome. That's what we do. People hire us to do a job. If we don't do the job, they're not going to hire us. That ain't true of politicians. That ain't true. Like it's only entrepreneurs. So, and especially small business entrepreneurs, because the big business entrepreneurs, they just buy the politicians to rig the playing field. Like, no, small business entrepreneurs, we're the ones that actually make the world better. They're my people. So serving them, paving the way for them, as you said before, that's what I'm here to do. But then the next level for me is do it for non-entrepreneurs. And when I'm going to make that transition, I'm not sure. But what I see is we're heading into winter in, the fourth turning, this
Right.
idea that there's these seasons of spring and summer and fall and winter. We're well on the way into winter, right? Bad times makes strong people. Strong people make uh, bad times make strong people. Strong people make bad times. Bad times make good times. Good times make weak people. Weak people make bad times. Yeah, that's the cycle. That's how it is, right? And so we're in a period where people are weak and we're making really really bad times, and it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out over the next 30 days. But we're coming into winter, and so I am feeling for. There are a lot of weak people who need help. I want to be that lighthouse for them that says, here's the path. It's not going to be fucking easy, but it is going to be simple. And if you do the work consistently, inner work and outer work, and inner work and outer work, and you believe and you trust and you have a vision and you move forward every single day and you commit to yourself, you will make it out, and you will be stronger, and you will actually be grateful for everything that you experience. You will be grateful for this winter. Those are my people. I believe, I don't know. I have no fucking clue what's going to happen. Sorry, my light here, when it gets dark outside, like this light, because it changes color, then like everything changes color. So anyway, so we're wrapping up in a little bit. What was I saying? I was saying that, if you've read The Sovereign Individual, have you read that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he talks basically about the demise of the nation state. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I definitely think that the nation state is going to be sort of undermined, right? We see invasion of cartels right now in America. We see like globalists taking over countries all over Europe, and like, it's not good, right? And so if the purpose of the nation state is to provide security, safety for people, and the state's ability to do that is breaking down. And so when that happens, what's going to happen? People are going to have to find another way to find safety. Before the nation state is fairly new. Before that, we had the like the fiefdoms, the village, Lucca in Italy, and Firenze, Florence. Like, these were all little like protectors, their own little city states, right? So maybe we'll return to something like that. However, these days we have the internet, we have crypto. What's his face? Balaji talks about the network state. Where I'm going with this is create a tribe of people that, again, are into this simple, natural, inner work, outer work, like do the right thing, take care of your health, take care of other people, bring your gift to the world, create a movement of people who want to live their lives this way. They don't have to be entrepreneurs. They can be whatever, but this is the ethos, this is the mindset. Create that movement and bring people together so that we as a community can stand strong in the world against whatever the fuck is going to happen over the next few decades. So that's the other piece of my vision. That's what I'm creating.
Well, I mean, you're basically creating an operating system to a better life.
That's exactly what I'm doing. Yeah.
Because a lot of times we were born with the wrong code, right? Or we've been programmed incorrectly, less than optimally.
Yes.
And and then you want to catch up so that you can be your best, right?
Yeah.
And if you're still carrying on that injury from 5 years old when you were rejected or bullied, and again, I've done a lot of that inner work too. So taking those moments that you don't think bother you and saying, wait, it still bothers me, because when somebody else behaves in that way, there's something in me that reacts to that.
Yeah.
So that's like a new checklist for like additional work to do. Not that it's bad, because we welcome and we're grateful for the work that we've done so far. Right? It's kind of like, all right, like I love myself. And for me, I used to look in the mirror and not love myself. Like, what kind of silly garbage is this? Right?
Me too. Yeah. 1,000%. Yeah. Oh, yikes. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, do I have to do this? And you're like, yes, you do. And they're like, do it until you believe it, right? And then it's like, do it, and when you start, let's say I was told, do this 10 times in a row. Like, I love myself, and by the 10th time, you're almost like singing it. Because you're like looking at yourself and you're like, well, I want to honor what I'm going to do today. I'm going to do it in the best way I can, and serve as many people impactfully. Right? And then by doing that, my needs are more than that. I'm happy. So Calvin, thank you so much for your time today, your gifts, your contribution, and your improvements in yourself. Because I think that inspires a lot of people, and I want you to just maintain being that beacon of truth and resilience under all pressure, and showing people that it's okay to be open, vulnerable, and life isn't complicated, but it's not easy, but you can make it simple with Simplero. So,
Yeah.
How can people find you online, whether to work with you on an individual basis, a team basis, or with your company?
Absolutely. So, I mean, the software company is Simplero, simplero.com. Go check that out if you're in an online business, especially if you're a coach or consultant or someone who's selling information. If your e-com is not, we're not a fit, but for service-based businesses, coaching information, we're perfect. And then for me in coaching, I think the best thing is go follow me on Instagram. It's just Calvin Correli on Instagram. And then send me a DM that says you came here from the Relief. What was it called? The Relief.
Relief
Sorry,
podcast. Yeah.
the Relief podcast. That's right. Send a DM saying you came from the Relief podcast from Demetri and you heard us here. And if you're interested in coaching, just write coach or just write the word coaching, and I'll get back to you there on a DM on Instagram.
Well, I think the more that people take you up on that offer, you'll be able to serve those people like really well. And we're still in, like, even though we're not in January anymore and we have a new month ahead, we still got 11 months left. There's still plenty of time to win
It's a great fucking
and get
year.
your plan in order. And tomorrow's a new day, and we can always make it better. So
Yeah,
thank you
100%.
so much, Calvin. And next time
Actually,
we'll have
I did a video the other day that might be interesting for your audience. I don't know, but if it is, so I did a video. There's just like I've been in this business of online coaching and consulting information for since 2008. So what's that, like, coming up on 16 years? And so I've seen a lot over the years, and especially also being the CEO of a software platform that does this. So I took some time to really distill down what is the simplest way that you can possibly get to 10K a month consistently as a coach, educator, mentor, trainer, course, creator, whatever you want to call that. So if you want that video, I'll be happy to send that to you guys as well. So just, again, follow me on Instagram, Calvin Correli, and then DM me the word 10K, and I'll send that video to you. I think for people who are looking to get to that point, that's can be a super helpful shortcut, just to see, okay, this is the path. Let's make it simple, because there's a lot of confusion out there and complication.
Well, thanks for clearing that. And I urge everyone to kind of seek that value, and don't be afraid to ask for something, especially when it's a free gift. Just take it and be grateful. So, thank you so much, Calvin.
My pleasure.
All the best in this year. I hope you achieve all your Mashogis and more. And our next conversation will be in person.
All right. Love it. Thank you, Demetri. So great to see you again.